Okay, of course, my name is Nick Dutch. I'm, of course, your professional online tarot reader and generally strange person. I'm the kind of person that you come to if you're curious about the way that the world seems to work. You may have had the occasional weird experiences here and there, something seemingly supernatural, and you're curious about it. And on top of that, you want to talk to someone like me or engage with someone like me who's gone through a few weird experiences himself, is trying to work things out. The goal from my point of view is that, or the point of view is that there is a genuine force out there and it's worthwhile trying to understand it. Okay? We as a species don't really know anything about any of this stuff, so we have to go to people who seem to have had similar experiences and work out where there are similarities with our own experiences and where there are similarities between other people's writings so that we can try and ascertain what could possibly be true under what conditions, and then to experiment at home to try and work out what particular approach appears to do something. Okay? So let's start off with this from page 119 from this guy, the really good mountaineer who happened to be a heroin addict and was a Nazi sympathizer and completely mad. Let's look at the words. Suppose that I wish to produce a thunderstorm. This event is beyond my control or that of any other man. First point, it's something which happens in nature, it can't be controlled. It is useless to work on their minds as my own. He seems to be using language which suggests that there is a mind associated with the thunderstorm. Or indeed, he's approaching it from that point of view. It says, nature is independent of and indifferent to man's affairs. This is true. What happens in nature will happen in nature no matter what we believe. So essentially our beliefs will have to be put on the back burner. A storm is caused by atmospheric conditions on a scale so enormous that the united efforts of all of us earth vermin, humankind, could scarcely disperse one cloud even if we could get at it. How then can any magician, he who is above all other things and know of nature, that's an incredibly arrogant thing to say about most magicians, but never mind, be so absurd as to attempt to throw the hammer of Thor? Yeah, the word absurdity is actually quite apparent. So essentially he's suggesting that, there's something going on there. He doesn't understand what. It's something to do with the weather. There may be some kind of connection between human consciousness and the weather itself, but he can't quite say what. He's even using the word absurd, so therefore he's just suggesting, this is a bit loony, it's a bit of a silly idea. But he then goes on to says, unless he be simply insane, he must be initiated in a truth which transcends the apparent facts. So therefore what he's saying is that there is something true in nature, which means that the way that things seem to be and the way that they are two different things. That, I think, is an important point, because there must be absolute laws of nature which science hasn't worked out yet. Okay? Some of these things are affecting us because we occasionally have these experiences. Okay? So therefore we are told an apparent fact, but there could be something else which is true underneath that, which we then will have to look for through experience, research, finding things out, and of course being humble, rather than saying, oh, I have the ultimate answer, and so on and so forth. All we can really do is to exchange our strange experiences and help other people build up an ideology or theology about it, or science, or whatever you want to call it. It goes on. He must be aware that all nature is a continuum, so that his mind and body are consubstantial with the storm. So that seems to be speaking about a state of connectional oneness, all right? A sense of the storm itself, the way it is visualized or contextually understand, and the individual is somehow connecting or resonating on the same level. So that would assume that intense meditation to the point whereby you're in a state of insanity and can almost feel the storm happening and you can visualize it happening in the sky, but with that level of intensity, must be like the way it's done, sort of thing. But he also speaks earlier on about a variety of really powerful understanding or magic, earlier on in the paragraph. This class of operations demands not only immense knowledge of the technique of magic combined with tremendous vigour and skill, but a degree of mystical attainment which is exceedingly rare. Now, in that he's talking about trying to control someone telepathically, basically. But on the other hand, he's still talking about mystical attainment. And from gleaning what he was talking about in another section, mystical attainment must be connected to the subject of rising the planes. The idea of doing a meditation which takes you into an upward state until you're almost vertigo-like, and having some kind of connection to spirit or spirituality that way in a prayerful state. This is what I'm thinking here. So, in a prayerful state, having done rising, bringing about the concentration of the energy of the storm, and then sending it somewhere. He says all these things are expressions of one existence, all alike of the same self-order of artifices whereby the Absolute appreciates itself. So that's like saying that we are part of the mind of the divine, the God, the universal consciousness, and the universal consciousness which somehow affects the physical. This is the hypothesis going on here. He must also have assimilated the fact that quantity is just much of a form as quality. Okay, so therefore, that's talking about the quantity of, energy raised, the quantity of concentration, the quantity of vibration that's been put into this quantity, amount, something strong, something powerful, something intense, as well as quality, which suggests focusing in on the intention, the visualization, and making it as close as possible. Obviously, for most of us normal people, this stuff remains experimental, hypothetical, and fun. It's not really us turning around and saying, I have the power to control the weather. It's more a question of saying that once in a while weird things happen which suggest that there is a connection between our consciousness and the universe. That would be another way of putting it. But it suggests it. It's not an objective, hard and fast fact. Have I made myself clear? Maybe, maybe not. Right. That as all things are modes of one substance, so their measures are modes of their relation. So that gets a bit complicated, and he's speaking in old-fashioned language anyway. Alright? All things are modes of one substance. Alright? All things are modes of one substance. So therefore, that's like holographic consciousness. That's the connection of your consciousness to the rest of the world, and the rest of the world influencing your consciousness. Which is why occasionally you get your psychic visions because something has happened in the world and it sent some energy somewhere and you picked it up and it appeared in your dreams, or when you were daydreaming or whatever, or when you're in high-level meditation. Because there's something happening around you and you've received a message from it. Okay. Not only are gold and lead mere letters meaningless in themselves, that are appointed to spell the one name, but the difference between the bulk of a mountain and that of a mouse is no more than one method of differentiating them, just as letter M is not bigger than letter I in any real sense of the word. Getting trippy there, isn't it? Not only are gold and lead mere letters. So what are you talking about there? Not only are gold and lead mere letters. Either the words themselves are not the thing, it is a representation of the thing, or indeed the thing itself, being physical, is something which is not more than just physical. It lacks some things, but it's got its own energy to it, maybe. Okay, but he's using the word meaningless. So I think he's trying to distract you away from some things of a lower nature, namely fine mechanical details, and focusing in on divinity. He's written the words one name in capitals, which does suggest that there is a continuation of the Judeo-Christian understanding going through him, suggesting that he is a believer in a one unifying deity of sorts, and all the things in the universe are just tiny little parts of it. But he's almost explaining that as if that is a model by which you can interact with the universe, and the universe can interact with you via consciousness, which is the theme of the book. Does that make sense? If you disagree with me, there's a comment section. You've probably got your own interpretation of this passage. Alright, but so our magician with this in mind will most probably leave thunderstorms to stew in their own juice, because it's going to be knackering, okay? It's a lot of hard work, it's knackering, it might not necessarily work out.